Kathie Lee, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Michael. How are you?
I'm doing great. Listen, I away. I was so moved by it. The music is amazing. The scenery is beautiful. I mean, I teared up a few times. So congratulations, first of all.
Oh,
Amazing movie.
a trusty guy like you teared up a couple times, Michael. That's good.
Tell me, how did you get the idea for this, and why did you want to make it?
I didn't have the idea for it, and I certainly didn't want to make it. Truth is, it's almost like the little boy that came up to Jesus and gave him a fish and a little piece of bread, and he had no idea that Jesus was going to feed the multitudes with it. He just gave from his heart. I had written a song 4 years ago, October, with someone I'd never met before, but fell in love with, Nicole C. Mullen, brilliant, beautiful woman, brilliant singer, now an actress. I got a hold of her. And we had the beginnings of a song called, well, we didn't know what it was going to be called, except probably The God Who Sees, because first time in the Bible that God is given a name was by Hagar. And she was the handmaiden, of course, of Sarah, who'd been left to fend for herself in the desert with her son, with very meager provisions. So, not a great chapter in Abraham and Sarah's life, but nonetheless, an important part of the genesis of the Bible story and how God was calling a nation. So Hagar had been on my heart about how she was, we don't know if she had been, Pharaoh had given her as a gift to Abraham, or whether Abraham had bought her. We don't know. All we do know is that she was not a free woman. She was a slave.
Right.
And we hear so much about slavery today. I'm thinking, gee, these stories are epic, but they're almost ripped from the headlines today. So long story short, we ended up writing a song about Hagar, just the first little tiny verse and a little bit of the chorus, and then she had to go. Not Hagar, Nicole had to go to Nigeria for her ministry. I had to go back for my ministry at the Today Show. I said, "Don't worry, I'll finish the song. You go, and we'll get back together in Nashville later." Well, a couple of weeks later, under the Holy Spirit of inspiration, I kept writing it, and I wrote, and then I made it about Ruth, and then I made it about David and all their different desert experiences, because we all have them. And I knew, because of my background in theater, that I was writing something that was not a 3-minute song for Danny Goki to record and have it on K-Love radio. Nothing wrong with that, but that was not what this was. This was theater. And this was probably, once we got it done, and then we ended with Mary Magdalene, she came back, she put what you see, if you go on YouTube and you see The God Who Sees, 98% of what you see and hear in that performance was the first take. In the studio. And I knew from that it was anointed of God for greatness. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to take the profits from my Rock Road and Rabbi book sitting in my, what I call my Kingdom account. And I'm going to get the National Symphony Orchestra players, 65 of them. And we're going to make this into an orchestral piece so you can do it in your concerts. That turned out so fantastically that I said, you know what? I'm going to take this Kingdom account money and we're going to Israel, and I'm going to direct you in this. And so that's exactly what happened. And I didn't know what to do with it. Nobody plays on the radio an 11.5-minute song, but I knew that it was going to touch hearts, and I wanted to give it as a gift to people. I had spent all of my money on it, and I wasn't going to go and try to get sold or anything like that. I said, no, this is going to touch people. Or if it doesn't, I'm wrong, Lord, but I think it will. So I released it on the day I left the Today Show and just started my new life down here in Tennessee. And very soon it became this phenomenon in that world. Millions and millions of people downloaded it. They still do. Millions of lives changed. People have come to know the Lord. People have been healed. People just the stories or the comments after it. So if you go to YouTube, are just amazing, and it was just confirmation that I was doing what I'm now supposed to do, because everybody thought I'd left my dream job for the second time, No, I was doing my dream job with this effort called The God Who Sees. And after that, the reaction was so much that I said, I got to do more. I'm going to keep writing these great stories in the Bible that, people think they know, but but even if they don't, I can tell it in a fresh, brand new way, in oratorio fashion, which some people don't know what that means. It shouldn't scare them off. It's not like opera or something like that. It's just, it's music telling us and storytelling with the narration. And Tchaikovsky's Peter and the Wolf is a very good example of what an oratorio is. And everybody can understand Peter and the Wolf. And then the great magnificent, majestic score that goes with it. I wanted these things because the stories are so epic. I wanted the scenery and the music to match the power of their stories. So I just set out to do it. And by that time, COVID was all over the world. And we couldn't get back to Israel for sure to shoot. And I thought, well, maybe I'll wait this out. But my creative director came up to me and said, you know what, Kathie, I can find you locations. I can find you locations in America that can fill in as Israel and as the dawn of creation and as the land of Ur, where Abram and Sarah came from. And I said, well, I don't believe you, but okay, show me. He showed me Moab, Moab. He showed me Utah. He showed me places in Texas that could be just used, where they shot a lot of the Chosen series. And I went, I'm sold, let's do it. I wasn't raising any money for it. Nobody understood what I was trying to do. It was a hard time for me. I just kept saying, all right, then I'll pay for it. I'll just pay for the next step. I'll just pay for the next step. And only one organization actually came through for me in the entire process. And that was Gateway Church in Dallas. So I always want to give them credit. And one woman named, I will just call her Linda. She might not want to be known, although we say her name in thanks in the movie. She called me one day and said, I understand what you're trying to do, Kathie. I'm a Messianic Jew myself. She said, I came to know Jesus, Yeshua, when I was in my 20s. I'm now around your age, Kathie. And she said, I immediately lost my entire family. I lost everything. I lost everything that mattered in my life because I had made this decision to follow Jesus. She said, almost everyone in my family has since come to know Yeshua, but it was a very, very hard time. I know what you're trying to do to bridge the Jewish part of our heritage with what became known as the Christian part, the Old Testament and the New Testament. Too many Christians think the Old Testament belongs to the Jews and the New Testament is ours because of Jesus. Nothing could be further from the truth, Mike. It is just not true. It's all one story. It's one love letter from God, the Creator, Elohim, to his children. And so I tried to bridge that, understanding that I'd rather call it the Old Covenant and the New Covenant. Sure. The Old Covenant was with Abraham to create a nation, which would bring about the Messiah. And of course, the Messiah comes in the New Covenant. And Jesus made a new covenant with us with his blood on the cross. So, and it ends with, so it's 4 oratorios. And the last one says that it's called The God of the Other Side. I wrote with my dear friends, Louis York, 2 of the most amazing, successful, incredibly, they won more awards than almost anybody in the, except for Quincy Jones, in the Black urban music. And we wrote the 4th one together. And it's all about how the other side, of course, is where Jesus told his disciples to go, get in the boat and meet me on the other side. We as Westerners don't realize that was a specific place on the other side of the Sea of Galilee, a place called Decapolis. Many people don't realize that's where all the pagans had fled when Joshua and the Hebrews came in to conquer the promised land. They all fled with their pagan ways and all their bestiality and their child sacrifice and everything that was a totally opposite of a godly Jewish life, a holy life, set apart. Holy means set apart for sacred use. And so when Jesus said to his disciples, go there and meet me, he could not have scared them more. He could have not have frightened them more or surprised them more. All their life, they've been told, don't go there. That's where the evil is. That's where the bad people are. That's where the unclean, the unsaved. You will never have. You'll never have what happened to my friend Linda. You'll never have community again. You'll never be able to go to the temple and worship. They were going to lose everything, but they followed Jesus. They got in the boat and then they went. So we tell the whole story of how the other side is where you're going to meet people like the Samaritan woman. You're going to meet people like the demoniac. You're going to meet people who are broken and crushed of spirit and in desperate need of healing, and not just their bodies, but their souls. And we all have a malignancy of the soul, I think. And so Jesus was saying, if you're going to follow me, that's where it's got to lead you, or you're not my follower. And I want this to be a little bit of a wake up call to the church.